To me, it looked like he actually lost the wheel.
The wheel for Ross Chastain is still and perfect.
Wheel on the track.
Did you leave the wheel loose?
You picked the fine time to leave me loose, wheel.
Welcome back to the Loose Wheel Show, Season 3, Episode 39. My name is Andrew Hazlett. That is Ethan Ignatowski. How you doing, everyone? How you doing, Ethan?
Doing good. Why you talking like that?
That's what happens when you're slightly sick, I guess. Your voice changes, and then you can do some really cool things with it.
You can do some
cool.
really cool things.
I think I sound cool doing that voice. I don't think I can keep it up the whole show because, it's different. But anyway, and let's talk about some racing.
And now for last week's race reviews.
There was some racing that happened this weekend. Brandon Jones won the Xfinity race, Ethan. For some people are just randomly good at some tracks. Brandon Jones is just randomly good at Kansas. He's got like 3 of his 6 Xfinity wins there. I don't know how many Xfinity wins he has, but he's got like 3 of 6 there. Excuse me. Anyway, into the Cup race. You had, kind of didn't edit this, but whatever. I watched the race yesterday because I don't know, I've been slacking lately. I'll admit it. But
slacking. That's
maybe I might be able to watch the race live this weekend. We'll see. I actually have stuff to do this Saturday.
I feel you.
But regardless, Chase Briscoe was on pole. Interesting to note, Shane Van Gisbergen and Michael McDowell, they had stop and go penalties to start, which kind of put them in the hole to start early. The thing about that was they're not playoff guys, but you'll see at least one of those guys come up later in the race, I believe. Then Denny Hamlin led for a bit. Cody Ware crashed early, not surprised. Denny Hamlin winds up winning stage 1. Stage 2, Christopher Bell was leading that group. And then we had Ryan Preece, John Hunter Nemechek. They both spun. Denny Hamlin led, and Denny Hamlin won stage 2. So pretty much all the only meaningful laps that have been led so far are by Toyota drivers. Stage 3, Chase Elliott gets the lead on the restart. So first non-Toyota driver to lead meaningful. When I say meaningful, it's like green flag laps that aren't on a mid-pit cycle, because any fool can lead laps under a pit cycle, right? That's just the way it is. Like, you could be 30th in lead laps on the cycle because you decide to stay out longer, which that doesn't really mean anything. Then Denny Hamlin regained the lead. J.J. Yaley had a spin. Then there was a big crash, involved 2 playoff guys, Austin Cindric and Joey Logano. The crash started with when Noah Gragson and then Logano and Cindric, they all kind of got together in one spot. It was really weird. I have it listed on here, an odd crash. Then we had a debris caution from Kyle Busch's tire. He's just had a terrible year. He's not looked like himself. At this point, this puts us at 9 to go, Ethan. A lot of drivers have been taking 2, and it's been working. But the top 6 guys, math is hard, took 2. You had Christopher Bell, Bubba Wallace, Tyler Reddick, Chase Briscoe, William Byron, Denny Hamlin. That's 5 Toyotas, Ethan. I've told you about the Toyota dominance thus far today. And then there's one other guy in there. Hamlin, who was leading, had an issue on his stop. With the jackman, he was jacked up the car in the wrong spot, which hurt the stop. So
obviously.
they could have been in first, Ethan, but they were in 6th. which keep that in mind. Chase Elliott and the rest of the field were on 4 tires. 9 to go restart. Carson Hocevar has a spin where Bubba Wallace was leading at the caution, which is crucial because, as you'll see later, you want to be leading at the time of caution. Then we go into overtime, Ethan. Zane Smith was running somewhere in the mid-pack. He had a decent run. He collected some stage points earlier, Ethan. But he got drove into the wall by John Hunter Nemechek. Nemechek hit him in the rear, pushed him up the track, and basically fenced him, which lead to Zane Smith running perpendicular to the ground along the wall.
I saw a video of that because I also did not watch the race, and that was kind of that was top 10 like NASCAR out of context moments. Because how in the world does that even happen?
And then after riding the wall, Smith flipped a couple times. So John Hunter Nemechek, just for randomly deciding to fence a guy that lead him to flip, gets the chicken award. So squeak that a few times. So also involved were Ty Gibbs and Josh Berry. Bubba Wallace, that was a brought out the red flag, and then as soon as we got going, Bubba Wallace led at white. Christopher Bell was up there too. But Denny Hamlin was coming through the field. And in turn 3 and 4, Denny Hamlin gets under Wallace, shoves Wallace into the wall as he got tight, and Chase Elliott slides through to victory, which I would give the race a 6 out of 10. I'm also going to give Denny Hamlin the ARCA Brakes Mower of the Week, which we'll talk about everything later. But 2 takeaways from this race for me. Joe Gibbs Racing domination. They won. They led so much the majority laps. And then the finish, obviously. But we're going to start with just that crazy finish because that's not something you see often. Hamlin, I did give him the ARCA Brakes Mower of the Week, mainly because he just happened to take his own car out and himself, leading for a non-Chevy driver. If it was different set of cars and circumstances, probably doesn't get that award. Just more the circumstances, he gets that award. But for me, Ethan, I'm fine with this move as long as Denny Hamlin's fine with this move. Because if Denny Hamlin goes to bed at Sunday night and says, okay, I'm fine with the move, I can sleep well knowing I tried my hardest to win, great move for him. I do that move again if you want. But if Denny Hamlin's doubting himself, kind of second guessing, which I don't think he is, but if he is, I don't know what goes on in his mind. It's not a good move because if you're not comfortable with that move, don't make the move, right? But I think that's a move Denny is comfortable making. He just made a mistake and happened to take out himself and the car he owns, allowing for a non-Toyota driver to win.
I mean, okay, yeah, I don't think that he would, doubt himself making a move like this in the future. That's not who he is. That's not the kind of driver he is. I don't think that he would have any doubts going forward. I also don't think that he would have any regrets because, like you said, I think that he did what he felt was necessary to win. It wasn't like he did anything out of the ordinary because, for better or for worse, that's just how you race in NASCAR. You bump guys, you try to push guys out. You don't want to wreck anyone, but you push people out of the way. You try to, assert your position by using your car as kind of a little bit of a battering ram.
He wasn't trying to do that, though. I want to make that clear.
And, there were other drivers bumping and banging into each other during that whole end of the race sequence, from the green flag to the checkered flag. So I don't think it wasn't anything out of the ordinary. That's just what happens in NASCAR. I don't know. I don't really. the only reason it's a talking point is because it was at the end of the race. Like, this is not a crazy move. I do want to push back on you saying, like, oh, given this situation, you shouldn't do it. Why not? This is the playoffs. It doesn't really matter if he owns the car he's racing against or not, because when he's behind the wheel driving the number 11, he's not thinking that he owns the number 23. He's thinking, how can I, the driver of the number 11, get this car to victory lane?
I didn't quite say it like that. It's that if he doesn't believe, it's a bad move. I like, from my perspective.
Well, you're giving him an award,
It's
a joke award, basically calling him out. I think that's unnecessary for what he did.
I just feel it's like circumstantial with the cars.
I agree that it's circumstantial, but I think that in that circumstance,
regardless of the point of that award is to award just bad circumstances with corny things. That was a corny thing that happened. That's my
I don't
opinion.
think so. I just think it's just racing. It's just NASCAR. I don't think it was anything else. Like, he was racing for the win. You said he didn't try to do it. I don't think you can say that he did or didn't. If you're gonna say last week that what happened that with Denny, that you think he did that, on purpose or whatever, I don't know. I don't think either way. So whether intentional or not, it's what happened. But it doesn't even matter if it was intentional or not, because it's not a big deal. He ran him up the track. He was trying to assert his car in first place. I don't think it matters.
And another point, what's interesting to me is now you kind of referenced it a little bit. This is 2 weeks ago. We're saying Denny's been in an incident that has been kind of interesting to know, right? We talked about last week with Ty Gibbs, now this week with his own car. Regardless of what you feel on those lines, the facts are Denny Hamlin has been in 2 incidents the last 2 weeks that we're talking about. Every year we look and see, Denny Hamlin, he's got all the momentum, and something happens that derails him. Looking at where he is in the round of 12, the playoff standings, which we'll talk to later, he's in a safe place. I think he should advance on Sunday. I think he will advance on Sunday. I'm just going to say it. But
he finished second and still ended up with the most points of any driver because he won the first 2 stages. I would say momentum is pretty solidly on his side.
But Ethan, going into the round of 8, stuff swirling over his head.
He doesn't care. There is no way he cares.
He doesn't care, but one bad thought in the back of your mind you've got Talladega in the round of 8, Ethan. One bad bump, and you're wrecked.
Andrew, he is 44 years old. He has been doing this for a long, long time. He knows by now how to compartmentalize these issues. This is not going to affect him in the slightest. If something happens at Talladega, it's not because something happened at Kansas and wherever they were last week.
New Hampshire.
It's not going to matter in the slightest. I can't promise you that because I don't have access to his thoughts, but let's be real. It's a guy at the top of his craft who's been doing this for ages. He knows how to deal with tricky situations or whatever you want to call them. It's not going to impact his driving.
That's fair, but I think if whoever would be in this situation, I think I'd be bringing it up for whoever.
And for whoever it was, I would have the same opinion. They're pros. You're not going to let what happened, unless it was something major, you're not going to let what happened the last week impact the next. And these, they are notable. It's 2 small things that, It's very ticky-tacky. Like, both of those situations, absolutely nothing could have happened if it was just slightly different. And I understand it wasn't slightly different. What happened. But it's just not like... It's not like he's causing, 18-car wrecks through, a lack of ability or something like that. He's racing for positions, and guys are getting bumped because it's NASCAR. That's what happens.
It'll be interesting to see if he won't change his racing style.
No,
but if it's interesting to see if we might see it if we see another thing. That's what I'm interested to see.
I think people are only interested because it's Denny Hamlin.
I no matter the driver, but these two incidents are notable incidents, and we've talked about. I don't care if it's Joey Logano, Chase Elliott, whoever you want to pick from your hat.
You would, though, because if it was Austin Cindric back-to-back weeks, we wouldn't be talking about this. You would have mentioned it briefly in your rundown, and that would be it.
Austin Cindric's a playoff guy. We'd be talking about him.
It's not the same level. You know what I mean. People only care because it's Denny Hamlin, and people love to hate him, and that's fine. You're allowed to do that. It's motorsports, but that's why people love to talk about him, because they don't like him. It's that simple. You don't like him. It's really that simple, in my opinion.
What's your point?
My point is that it's not a big deal. We're talking about this, wondering if it's gonna impact him in the future. No, it's just not. That's my opinion. You can have a different opinion.
I bring this up because every year there's a cycle, and there's something that happens to Denny Hamlin each year that just doesn't allow him to win the championship, whether it's self-inflicted or not. Something always happens. Just saying.
All right.
And then the other talking point is Joe Gibbs Racing domination. Once again, Ethan.
You already mentioned that.
I didn't really go into the depth I wanted to talk about.
All right.
Because 4 out of 5 races this playoff season, the Toyotas, especially of Joe Gibbs, have came out and looked unbeatable. Even though they lost last week, they've had the best cars all playoffs. So that makes me think that we'll see a lot of Toyotas in the Final Four at Phoenix, because you've got Las Vegas, a 1.5-mile track, very similar to Kansas, Talladega, super speedway, anything can happen there, and Martinsville, a track where Toyota has historically been strong as well, with the likes of Denny Hamlin in particular. He's been very good at that track. So I could see a Toyota, I don't think a complete holdout of the, or not holdout, but not like a 4. I don't think Toyota will wind up going 4 for 4 of drivers in the championship, Ethan.
Mm-hmm.
But I think we could see a 2 or 3 very easily.
I wouldn't be surprised at all. I think. Yeah, no, that wouldn't surprise me.
And this is kind of how I'm going to set up. What was the one race Toyota didn't really look great at? New Hampshire. What track is New Hampshire very similar to, Ethan? Phoenix. Who was good there? The Fords.
Mm-hmm.
So this is interesting. If the Toyotas can blockade, quote unquote, blockade's not the right word, but keep the Fords out of the Final Four, this championship is wide open to me, because if the Fords have always had the best hand, the best setups, the best cars at Phoenix in the system in the fall in particular. So someone has to beat them. Mm-hmm. And if you can beat them before Phoenix, that's probably easier than beating them at Phoenix.
Yeah.
Just that's how I'm trying to put the pieces of the puzzle in these last 5 races.
Yeah, I mean, we all know that recently it's been a lot of Penske domination at Phoenix. It's hard to beat them there. So, yeah, I think that's a very valid point. What is the likelihood, though, of arriving at Phoenix with, no Penske car?
We'll talk about that later.
'Cause it's probably not that likely.
We'll talk about that later, because we'll talk about in the previews on how this round of 12 can shake out at the Roval, because Ethan, there's a possibility that one Ford advances to the round of 8. There's only 3 left right now.
Yeah. But even if there's one, like, there doesn't need to be, not that it would come down to this anyway, but it's not like it needs to be 2 Toyotas and 2 Fords in the round of 8 for a Penske Ford to win the championship, since in this format all it comes down to is that one final race.
Right.
If there is one Penske there, you're probably going to take the Penske, even if there's 2 Fords, 3 Fords.
Right.
It doesn't really matter. So yes, like, if you can eliminate the Fords by just you and your other Toyotas being so dominant, like, obviously that would be like greatest thing ever. It's just not very likely, though. But yeah, we'll get more into that later.
And into the news.
And now for the news.
Anthony Fast Pasta Alfredo returning to Beard Motorsports at Talladega. Open car, always good to see. The Beards always bring good cars for the super speedways. This could be a good underdog if we see an underdog winner. Just saying. Carson Hocevar slapped with $50,000 fine for Kansas behavior violation, which was he began revving his engine and spinning his tires while trying to rejoin the field with safety personnel there. From what I hear, that's kind of standard procedure, I guess, not really with the safety personnel there.
Right.
I guess that's kind of why.
So, were the safety personnel in the wrong area?
I don't know exactly. NASCAR is very doesn't release much information with this.
Like,
and no one on Twitter that I've seen is kind of shown this is what happened.
Yeah. And I mean, to be fair, like, even if they were in the wrong area, if you're not supposed to do that with people around, then you're not supposed to do that with people around. So, still can't do it. But I'm just wondering if they were, because that just adds another layer to things.
Yeah. NASCAR confirms departure of race director Juson Hamilton. Interesting to note, it wasn't performance related. So,
did they say what it was related to? Just that he's leaving?
Yeah.
He left on his own accord?
They didn't say how the split happened. But
interesting.
So Tim Berman becomes the race director. He was co-race director with Hamilton. So now he's just running the show by himself. So that's interesting to know of how things are going to be ran in the tower. Final piece of NASCAR news. Kyle Busch pairs up with crew chief Andy Street for a remainder of 2025 NASCAR Cup Series season, with Randall Burnett leaving the Trackhouse next year. This could be the combination that RCR is going with in the future and for 26. So it's a good idea to look at it now, see if it's good or bad. Yeah.
Who is this guy though?
I don't know exactly. I know he's been working with RCR in a long time. Always kind of been like the 3rd or 4th crew chief that they use. He's crew chief the 33 car this year that's been driven by Austin Hill and Jesse Love. Austin Hill got a 9th at Chicago in that car. So, like, he's decent, but not exactly. This is a new name to me.
Okay. So he's got something to prove. And
Yeah.
Kyle Busch has something to prove.
Yeah.
Not a bad idea to link them up then.
A-Team has ran abysmal this year.
Yeah. Yeah, we've... I don't expect you to know this off the top of your head, but, like, just give me a ballpark number. Like, we've gone how many races without a Kyle Busch win?
Let's see. The last one was in 2023 at Gateway, which was a mid-June race. So that means 2 full seasons have passed of 36 races, which puts us at 72, plus a few more since that mid-June race, probably around 10 or so, 12. So I'd say like 82 to 84 would be my guess.
It's a long time for a guy who before that had a win like every single... Did he have a win every single year of his career?
Every single year for a long
For a
time.
long
You have to
time?
go back to either as like looking at it now, you have to go back to his every full-time year of his career. He won a race.
So it's been a real dry spell for him, to say the least. I mean, you guys just heard the numbers.
I'm getting the actual number here right now. It's more than I thought, actually.
Really?
It's 88.
Wow.
He's gonna hit that 100 number next season.
Unless something changes.
It's gonna be race 7, which would be at Martinsville. Would be the 100th race Kyle Busch has gone winless.
I think his best bets before then would be the first 2 races of the season.
Wasn't a super speedway guy in his prime, so that's not really...
No, but the RCR right now is a super speedway car.
Yeah, you're not wrong there.
And I mean, as you know, it's always this debate: is it car or is it driver? Well, it's a mix, but if the car is only good on super speedways, then he's not going to be able to. He most likely will not be able to drag it to a win elsewhere.
Yeah. We'll see who the crew chief is. If he's got a good crew chief next year that can reinvent Kyle Busch, reinvigorate him, he could be good again.
Yeah. Anyway, on to F1 news.
Yeah.
So, we touched on this last week, but last week it was only rumors, and now it is stone cold factual information. Christian Horner has approached Haas over a future role. The team principal of Haas, Ayo Komatsu, spoke on that very, very briefly. Obviously, everyone is in Singapore for the Grand Prix, so ahead of the actual action on track, he said, "Yeah, it is true that he approached us, and then one of our guys had an exploratory talk, and that's it. Nothing has gone any further. It is finished. I've got nothing more to say. Like I said, you write whatever you want. I'm not fueling that story." So, I mean, I feel like that is a very interesting thing to say to this situation.
How so?
The "it is finished" part after, a sentence prior saying one of our guys had an exploratory talk. So I don't know if he meant like it's finished as in that's all I have to say about that, because he did say that later on. But if he's saying like, oh, they had a talk and it's finished, that's over, dead in the water, then that's that on Christian Horner joining Haas. It's a quote that I guess you could read 2 different ways in that sense, so it's don't want to read into it too much and get it wrong. But I don't know, just interesting. He seems I think it's fair to say that he seems pretty disinterested in at least discussing about Christian Horner joining the team. Andy Cowell, who worked with I believe he worked with Christian Horner at Red Bull. He is now the CEO of Aston Martin. He also talked about Christian Horner, and he said, I think Christian has taken some time out at the moment. He's probably enjoying time with his friends and family. He loves the sport, though. I wish him well with whatever he ends up doing in the future. We've got a strong team. We've got a strong team with Adrian at the helm of the technical organization, and we're growing and building. And then he went on to say, I think Christian's record speaks for itself. He's a great competitor. I guess it's down to Christian to work out what he wants to do. I think we've got a strong setup, and we're marching forward with that. So, kind of sounds to me like, best wishes with whatever you do. We're good here. We're going to keep doing our own thing. So, two interesting pieces, and if Haas and Aston Martin aren't interested, that really leaves only Alpine as one of the rumored organizations that could still potentially want him. Obviously, he has a relationship with Flavio Briatore, which, could lead him a role there, and you never know what Flavio's going to do. But I would think with just all the instability that team has faced over, it's been years at this point that they've just haven't had a stable foundation. I would think that they wouldn't want to bring in someone like Christian Horner, change things up again, but you never really know, do you?
There was a house there. I've said it on the show before how what Alpine was and what Alpine could have been. But that house has collapsed against itself.
Yeah. And it's collapsed under a storm of its own creation.
Absolutely.
That might have been a bar. Alex Dunn, McLaren junior driver. He's in F2 right now. Had himself a solid year. Why are we talking about him? Well, McLaren and Alex himself announced earlier today that they have parted ways with immediate effect. And this was something that has been in the rumor mill for a long time.
Makes sense.
So it's not really a surprise. And we know what's next for him as well, because the BBC is reporting that he is close to agreeing with a deal to join Red Bull's driver academy, which is
another
a very
card for that Red Bull deck, which has pretty close to the 52 standard playing cards with the way they like to do it.
Yeah, it's a very interesting career decision. It's one that I kind of like. Alex Dunn is obviously a quick driver. He's
fifth in the F2 standings right now?
Yeah, he's fifth in F2. He has a couple of wins on the year, and he could have had better results if he wasn't so aggressive. He reminds me a lot of a young Max Verstappen.
Oh.
Now, I want to preface that by saying Max is obviously a much
better.
more talented driver. That's not even a slight to Alex Dunn. It's just that Max is the best that Formula One has to offer right now. But in terms of the driving style and that sort of situation, it reminds me of a young Max Verstappen. I feel like that's not a leap to say. And I feel like if, for all his faults, the one thing that Helmut Marko was able to accomplish was turning Max Verstappen into a star. Is that really Helmut Marko, though? Or is it just Max Verstappen being who he is? I don't know. Either way, I think it's a solid, risk to take, gamble to take if you're Alex Dunn. Try to learn in that system that's taken a driver with a pretty similar driving style to you and maximized it. Now, I don't know what this means for his future. I could see another year of F2 for him. I mean, he's only 19. He's a rookie in F2. But something is probably more likely to open up at Red Bull down the road than with McLaren, because Lando's locked up for a long time. Oscar's locked up for a long time. Neither of those guys seem like candidates to leave early, in my opinion.
And Red Bull likes to play musical chairs.
And Red Bull loves to play musical chairs. Even if the rumors of Lindblad going to RB and Hadjar going to Red Bull, even if that comes to fruition, it's not crazy to say at all. In fact, it's probably less crazy to say that Hadjar would get thrown out of that car and then they would put Lindblad in and he'd get thrown out. I think it's probably less crazy to say that than anything else. And if you throw two drivers out, then Alex Dunn could very well be that third driver, and you're always going to back yourself. He'll think that, even though every other driver in the world has failed in the Red Bull second car, maybe I can do it. And, fair enough. I think it at the very least gives him, like I said, a more clear path to F1, because nothing was going to open up at McLaren. Red Bull has the luxury of having two teams, so they can put him in the second team. Solid move. And I mean, I didn't catch this until now that I'm looking back at the article, but the BBC is saying that he is most likely going to stay in F2 for another year. And so, yeah, if he follows that plan, there you go. There were also talks of him joining the Alpine Academy, which also makes sense because there's a lot of instability there with the second driver alongside Pierre Gasly. But it seems like Red Bull is the place to be for him anyway. Last piece of F1 news I want to talk about. Nothing really to actually say too much, but Pietro Fittipaldi is joining Cadillac as a development driver. Really interesting.
I am not moved.
I am not moved either. But what is really interesting, though, is that Cadillac has announced a test driver in Colton Herta. They've announced a development driver, whatever that means, and however that's different than a test driver, in Pietro Fittipaldi. But they don't have a true number 3 reserve driver, which I think is kind of funny. Maybe they'll just use whoever Ferrari's reserve driver is because they're using the Ferrari engines. But I just think that's a little funny. Pietro has a lot of experience in F1, in the F1 world, despite not being a super highly touted driver or experienced driver in terms of F1 racing, but he's worked alongside F1 teams for literally ever. He has, competed in F1. He took over for Romain Grosjean when he obviously had his horrific accident. He drove the last 2 rounds of that season. So it's not like he has no experience at all. It's just kind of an interesting move from Cadillac. And I guess, who is the Ferrari reserve driver? Probably Giovinazzi or Zhou. Yeah, it's Zhou and Giovinazzi. So if Cadillac would need a reserve driver for whatever reason, they could probably call on one of those two. Moving into the previews?
Sure.
Because I don't got any more news. I don't know if you have any more news. Oh, I do actually. Max Verstappen, he won at the Nürburgring in his first actual real chance to do so. Because the first time he was there, he was just getting his licensing and learning the way things worked. But now in a GT3 Ferrari car, he won. His teammate, since it was an endurance race, his teammate was Chris Lulham. I don't know if you've ever heard of that name, Andrew. You know more endurance racing than I do. But Max and him, they were were the best in their class, and I don't think that was really a surprise. Max Verstappen is an amazing driver. I don't think there was any doubt that he was going to perform very well and challenge for a win, even though it was his first time racing in that car. So, good for him. It's exciting, it's interesting, and it's all leading up to an eventual 24-hour endurance race at the Nürburgring.
And now for next week's race previews.
Now, though, into the actual previews. Singapore is coming up. Night race, of course. You never really know what you're going to get. Could be monsoon weather. Could be just, no matter what, it's going to be super hot and super humid, but could rain, could not rain. We don't know. You never really know with Singapore, just because of where it is globally. It's interesting, Andrew, because this is a track that Max Verstappen has never won on. And
the only track.
The only track on the F1 calendar that Max doesn't have a win at. It's a track that he has really struggled at, but the last time we were at a track where you're like, oh, this is kind of a track that Max struggles at, he won in dominant fashion. And that was last time out in Azerbaijan at the Baku Street Circuit. So you never really know right now with Max. He's on a great run of form. But I still wouldn't expect him to be the fastest. I would expect the McLarens to be the fastest. I would expect maybe even the Ferraris and the Mercedes to be faster than him. But like I said, you can just never really count out Max. Something interesting, though, for this weekend is that the F1 race director, Rui Marquez, has mandated that cars carry cooling equipment because he declared the race a heat hazard. And it's the first time in Formula One that this has happened. It's going to be like 88 degrees at race time with a lot of humidity. So it's just not fun conditions. I don't know what the actual percentage of humidity is, but that's just the outside temperatures. When you're in the car and it's going to
get hot.
It could get like into the 120s, maybe hotter. I don't know exactly, but it's going to be really hot. So he is mandating this cooling equipment, and what that is essentially is a cooling vest that the drivers wear that pumps cooling fluid around their body through a network of tubes, according to the AP.
A lot of NASCAR drivers wear something similar.
Yeah. This has been something that has been discussed ever since Qatar in 2023, when a lot of drivers were just feeling sick because of how scorching hot it was. But this is the first time that it's actually being mandated. And even though it's being mandated, that might not be the right terminology here. It's the terminology that they're using, but it is a choice to actually wear the vest. But to encourage drivers to actually wear the vest, you're going to have to at least have the system in the car. If you want to connect it to the vest or whatever, that's up to you. But if you don't, then you're going to have to add weights to the car that would be as heavy as what you're choosing not to wear, essentially, so that there's no performance advantage by being lighter by not wearing that vest. A lot of drivers have talked about how they're kind of on the fence about it. Charles Leclerc, he's talked about how he's on the fence about it. George Russell, he's kind of on the fence about it.
I like it.
But I like it. I think drivers should utilize it. I mean, why not? It's gonna make your job easier, and you're not gonna gain anything by not. So go ahead and do it. But yeah, interesting. First time that this is being mandated, in quotation marks, in Formula One.
Moving on to NASCAR, Charlotte Roval. My five winners there. Ryan Blaney, Chase Elliott, he's won there twice. Kyle Larson, same boat, won there twice as well. AJ Allmendinger won there once. had a reign of terror there on the Xfinity series. So he could be a very good sleeper. And Christopher Bell. Chase Briscoe's also won there once in the Xfinity series. He's only an honorable mention though. Data is a 3 for this race because it's the one since we've been doing the data. One race there wasn't very good. Next gen car, not good on road courses. Sorry. But playoff points, Ethan, well, this is something we'll talk about here.
Mm-hmm.
Blaney and Elliott have advanced.
Yes.
My next few guys are the feeling good plus 34 points or more. Kyle Larson, Denny Hamlin, Christopher Bell, and William Byron. Something wrong would have to ruin their day. They'd have to retire from the race essentially, or finish in the 30s to be on the bubble.
And even then, they still probably get in.
Yeah, probably. I would say it's a 50-50 shot on if they're in or out. Then we go to the bubble itself. Chase Briscoe plus 21, Joey Logano plus 13, Ross Chastain minus 13, Bubba Wallace minus 26, Tyler Reddick minus 29. Both those guys a long way out. They're gonna if they have to get 2 good finishes in stage 1 and 2 if they want to have a chance at advancing. And finally, Austin Cindric, 48 points back. He's pretty much essentially win or go home.
Yeah, and you're eliminating 4 drivers after this race.
Yeah, you're eliminating 4 drivers after this race. So, going back to what I was talking about earlier, all that needs to happen to get rid of Joey Logano, because there's 3 Fords. Blaney, who's advanced, Logano plus 13, and Cindric minus 48. Ross Chastain has to have a really good run, or one of those 3 non-Cindric drivers advance or win, and Logano's out pretty much. As long as he doesn't gain, as long as Briscoe has a good run, which that's up in the air, know if you will. There's a good chance we see no Joey Logano. I would put around 20. I would put around 20%.
Yeah.
But
so who's your picks to advance? Who's your picks to get eliminated?
I'm gonna honestly keep it. I don't think Reddick's good enough to advance. I'm gonna eliminate him first because I think Cindric has a better chance of winning. Because I don't think Reddick is good enough to advance. I don't think Bubba Wallace will either. He's shown that he can be decent on road courses, but I think he's just no. It really depends on how Ross Chastain runs. And I don't really think of him or Logano as road course guys. But I'm gonna just keep the 4 that are down there at this point. But
interesting.
What do you think?
I am going to eliminate Bubba Wallace, as you did. I'm going to eliminate Austin Cindric, as you did. I'm going to eliminate Ross Chastain because he has had some good results on road courses, but I don't know if it'll be enough this time around. So that leaves me with Tyler Reddick and Joey Logano, and I'm going to eliminate Joey Logano. I think that Tyler Reddick, I think you're kind of discounting him. He's pretty solid on road courses. He at least this year he had a top 10 at Sonoma and a top 3 at COTA, and if he can especially recreate that top 3, that puts him in a really good position to make it through, in my opinion, because I don't think that Joey Logano will run that well because he is definitely not a road course racer, and that's why I'm leaving him out. So that is Cindric, Wallace, Chastain, and Logano, with Tyler Reddick jumping up a few spots to get in. But the points gap between Logano and Reddick
is 29.
I mean, That's a big gap. But if he gets a top 5, and Logano finishes somewhere in like the late, like, where would Logano have to finish if Reddick finishes?
29 places worse.
I could see it happening. I could honestly see it happening.
Here's why it's not going to happen, Ethan. And I don't want to be that guy to say, oh no, that's terrible pick.
Even Ross Chastain. One of Ross Chastain or Tyler Reddick is going to get in, and Logano will fall.
I think Ross Chastain's a better pick. Here's why I push back on that. Is with Charlotte Roval in particular, the strategy for all these guys is going to be, unless they feel that they have to win, which I don't think that's what they're going to do. They're going to stay out to get stage points for both stages when everyone else is going to pit. So they're going to be so far buried in the pack to start stage 3. I don't think any of them can race up through the field to gain the positions. And then if you say, Andrew, no, they're going to stay out in stage 2 so they cannot be in the back of the pack, that's 7 more positions that you have to gain if Joey Logano finishes 4th.
Joey Logano is not finishing 4th.
In a stage, which can easily happen because if your 6-7 guys stay out.
If you're what guys?
6 or 7, Ethan. I'm not trying to make a joke here. But the point is,
6, 7.
is that's a long way to go. But it'll be interesting to watch. Let's get into the rotating drivers quickly. Josh Bilicki in the 66 for Garage 66. Xfinity guys, you've got Alex Labay, Garrett Smithley in the SS Greenlight cars, Connor Mosack in the 9 for JR Motorsports, Daniel Hemrick in the 11 for Colleague, Corey Day in the 17 for Hendrick, Eric Almirola in the 19 for Gibbs, Kaz Grall in the 24 for Sam Hunt, Andrew Patterson and Austin Green in the Jordan Anderson cars, Austin J. Hill and Sage Karam in the Joey Gase cars, Josh Williams in the Alpha Prime car, Preston Pardus in his own car, Thomas Nunziata in the Cope car, Josh Bilicki and Leland Honeyman in the DGM cars. Truck Series, there's a lot too. Brent Cruz in the 1 Tricon. 02 is TBA for Youngs, and the 20 will be Will Rogers. Carter Fartouch is in the 2 for Rayom, and his teammates will be Josh Rayom and Mason Maggio. Connor Zilch and Corey LaJoy will be in the Spire trucks. Chris Wright in the extra McAnally Hilgeman truck. You've got your Nice Motorsports has Josh Bilicki, Andres Perez Delar, and Bailey Curry in their rotating trucks. Caden Honeycutt and Wesley Slimp in the Hallmark Friesen trucks. Timmy Hill in his own truck. Derek White in the Garage 66 truck. Parker Kligerman in the Henderson truck. So going into the pick points.
And now for next week's race picks.
Ethan, you gained, we all got 1 point last week, so nothing changed. Ethan, you still lead me by 30-something, the guest by 50-something. We don't need to get in those numbers specifically. For pick points, I went the guest this week, Zach. He went Oscar, George, Charles. I went Oscar, Lando, George. Oscar's, I think, better than Lando right now. So I think George is going to do nothing, P3.
Last year at Singapore, Lando was so far ahead of literally everyone else, like 30 seconds ahead of Oscar in P2. It wasn't even close. And I don't know if Oscar's been better right now. They've both had some,
iffy moments.
They both had some iffy moments recently. I mean, Oscar last time out in Baku had one of the worst races from a championship leader that I can remember. So because of that, I'm going to default to Lando's success there last year. I do have Oscar finishing second, and then Max, even though he hasn't done well there in the past, he's just on such a good run of form right now that it's hard to imagine him not being on the podium. So I have him in third.
Truck Series, guess going Corey Heim. He's good everywhere, but we're going a different route. We're going Connor Zilisch. Great road racer. All you have to say. And then same thing in Xfinity. We're all going Connor Zilisch. Just great road racer. For Cup Series, Ethan, you and the guests have the same pick. I'm going a different route, so you guys can talk first on who you picked.
I picked Shane Van Gisbergen because he is so good at road courses. It's not even funny.
I'm going with Christopher Bell. The SVG didn't win the Roval in Xfinity last year. In the Cup car, I like Christopher Bell on road courses. I believe he won COTA, if memory serves me right. Won at the Roval. Toyota's dominated in the playoffs so far, Ethan. Christopher Bell, not an upset winner, but not your top favorite that you expect. So for Ethan Agantowski, this is Andrew Hazlett, Loose Wheels Show. You have anything left to say, Ethan?
See ya.
Goodbye. See you next week. More Blaze programming coming right up.
All right. Here we go, guys and gals. And boogity, boogity, boogity. Let's go racing, drivers.